Good morning, everyone. I pray that your Sunday you found spaces and places of joy, of peace, of laughter, a time where you could just relax, a time where you could exhale, a time where you could just be so very grateful that you are able to breathe, that you are able to breathe, to be able to take in the beauty that surrounds us, but you are also able to breathe even as we negotiate numbers of challenges this weekend. Today, we're going to simply focus on check-in. I noticed and I know for myself that this weekend, with all of the protests and all of the posts and articles on social media, all of the unhelpful tweets as well as supporting tweets have the potential of being very stressful on each and every one of us. As an African American mother of three, two males and one female, and six grandsons and one granddaughter, I would be less than honest if I did not say that I had concerns or have concerns about the safety of my children, the safety of my loved ones, the safety of each and every one of you who may be people of color. As you attempt to negotiate this thing called life, as you attempt to get all the joy you can get, as you attempt to just do regular things like go to the grocery store, take a walk, jog, go to a barbecue, go to a restaurant. My desire, my prayer is that we would all be able to enjoy all the things that life has to offer without having fear that someone may decide that they don't like our presence, that someone may decide that our very existence seems threatening, or simply our very existence produces hate and anger in them. And that's one thing I really don't understand. How could simply seeing someone who does not look like you, and I talked about this last week, how can it produce hatred? You don't even know each other. And yet we move off of myths, we move off of isms, we move off of stereotypes. And so I know that this weekend has been particularly challenging because a lot of our caring people, people of compassion, people who have said, I just don't want to sit quietly. I want to add something to my prayers. I want to put feet and movement to my prayers. Some of us, or some of you all, have been able or made the decision to go out and join into what you had believed were going to be peaceful protests. And for a number of you, those protests were peaceful. People had signs, they were not tearing things up, they were simply lending their solidarity and lending their voices to saying that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and we deserve justice. We deserve to be able to live like human beings without being attacked, without being treated poorly. Now, back in the day, I was one protesting somebody. I would give me a good march and I would go to any march. I have marched on all types of topics. When my children were young, as they grew up, I took them to marches. I attended my last march maybe about 2 years ago, sort of on accident, but when I realized the march was happening, I joined right in. And this was a march that was protesting violence against children in schools. But with the COVID and my decision to self-distance because of my age and my health conditions, I chose to stay home. But I was right there in spirit. But unfortunately, unlike the marches I participated in, and I participated in a many, trust and believe, I've never been in one where things became violent, where stores became vandalized, where police cars were turned over, where properties were set on fire. And I understand. I understand the rage. I understand when people have said enough is enough. But what thoroughly perplexes me, and I want you to be clear about this, if you look at the pictures of a number of the people who've been accused of inciting the violence, who began the vandalizing, who set off that chain of events, they were not brown or black people. They were people, in my opinion, who were opportunists. They were people who do not support equal rights or equal justice, but took it as an opportunity to destroy, to incite, to try to stimulate what has been kind of termed as a possible race war. What we don't need today, my beloved, is a race war. What we do need is a changing of hearts, a changing of minds, a changing of systems. And so let me go back to where I really want to go, because I really wasn't trying to preach to you all or to be doing an ideological post. I simply wanted to check in and see, how are you doing? Now, I have to admit, where I live outside of Washington, D.C. In my neighborhood, it was quiet, but less than 10 minutes where I lived 10 minutes from D.C., 15 minutes tops, I can be in the heart of D.C., there was protests. There were people exercising their First Amendment right of freedom of speech. Across the country, I saw videos and things, and as I looked at my posts and as I talked to people, people are afraid. People are afraid for their black and brown. They've been focusing on sons. I say we are afraid for our black and brown children. We are afraid that for our black and brown selves, that we want to be able to, at least for me, I want to be able to live my life where I can go where I want to do what I want to do without fear that someone's going to stop and harass me. I want, if something's happening where I do require police presence, that I can trust that that presence will be amenable and will be helpful and will not demean me and will not make the situation worse. I am not in any shape, form, or fashion stating that all police are not helpful, that all police are not doing their job. But what I am stating is that in any environment we find ourselves in, we find people who are practice their occupation with from ethical guidelines. They honor the tenets that they have been given to protect the community, to be supportive. And then you always have those who choose to do things a different way, those who have a different agenda. I'm talking about those who have a different agenda, and my anxiety does raise because I don't want to meet up with those with a different agenda. And I don't want my children, I don't want my grandchildren, I don't want your children, I don't want you to meet up with those who have a different agenda. And so today I would invite you to pay attention to how you are feeling. For some of you, you have told me, I am really scared, I am not doing well. Well, that's the first step, as I always say, acknowledging how you feel. The next step is to be gentle with yourself. Don't try to convince yourself that you shouldn't feel like that. Don't try to convince yourself that your thoughts are way overboard. Just sit with your thoughts. They are coming from somewhere. When we talk about being triggered, the events that's happened in the past week have been extremely triggering. So your response is, if you're having a visceral response of increased anxiety, that is normal. What we want to do is to be able to acknowledge that our anxiety has increased, and we want to intentionally begin to practice self-care. We want to practice breathing, deep breathing. We want to practice healthy eating. We want to practice not turning towards stimulants or alcohol or things to change our mood, because that's just another way to avoid our feelings. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a glass of wine if that helps you to unwind, but pay attention to how much you're drinking. Pay attention to why you're drinking. Pay attention to the amount and how repetitive your drinking is. If you're finding yourself and you're taking your trash out, and hopefully it's your recycling, that your bag is clinking because you have so many bottles, that may say that you're not doing very well, that your way of dealing with your anxiety is not the healthiest. The next thing we can do is to become more proactive. There are many organizations, there are many groups that are coming together to have conversation, to strategize, to come up with clear plans of how we can address this disease that is systemically trying to destroy this country. You may not be able to get out, but there's many things you can do. You can let your voice be heard. You can talk to your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews. Provide spaces to have the conversation. Check in with your children. They know something's going on. Their anxiety is raising also. Don't believe just simply because they're young, they don't know. They can feel the vibrations. They can feel your energy. So this is a great time to have conversations, to engage in conversations, to be honest in your sharing of feelings, to provide space for each other to be honest. This is a time where we can heal and grow together. But it all begins with acknowledging how we feel and doing that acknowledgement on purpose. I would love to hear from you in the comments about how you're doing or steps you're taking to acknowledge your own feelings, steps you're taking to be gentle with yourself. I want to end by saying like and share, and I thank you all who have supported this page. In my description, there was always a reference to a link if you feel like you want more professional help, that you need to speak with a professional. I have a link in the description. If you click on the link, it will allow you to begin the process of connecting with a counselor, connecting with a therapist, because sometimes it's good to be able to talk to someone who can help us to move through these emotions in a much more personalized way. Just know that I love each and every one of you, and my prayer is that we will get through this together. This is not, my father, his passed, but I remember when the election happened and I called him and I said, how are you dealing with this? And he said, you know, I've lived long enough and we've been through this before. And he said, and we will get through this. And those are the words I'm going to leave you with. We will get through this. I know you're tired. I know you're exhausted. I know that as you know, that it's like yet one more time, I thought we'd made more progress. But I'm here to tell you that we will keep on stepping, keep on fighting, keep on promoting, keep on agitating, keep on loving, keep on caring, keep on keeping on purpose. Talk to you tomorrow. Love you. Bye-bye.